Any of you sitting here ever been in a toxic relationship where the toxicity of that relationship envelops your spirit and begins to affect your heart? You know, I was looking at a study the other day, and they talked about in this study that heart disease is triggered, or they relating heart disease as one of the triggers of heart disease being stress, anxiety, depression, and also trauma. And so, you know, when you look at the world of psychiatry, most psychiatrists, when they make a diagnosis, they use what is called the DSM-4 or the DSM-5. And the DSM-4 is a statistical or a diagnostic statistical manual for mental disorders. You say, where am I going with that? Well, when you hear terms like borderline personality disorder, that's a diagnosis. And when a person begins to exhibit behavior that is outside his baseline, and the baseline meaning the seeming normal behavior that you would see this particular person that you know every day, that he functions as thus and such, or so-and-so, or sister so-and-so and such has this type of disposition in her personality, that's considered to be her baseline. But anytime someone deviates from the baseline, they say that he's exhibiting a behavior that's psychotic. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also makes diagnosis. And so Allah ta'ala is making a diagnosis much like the people in the world of psychiatry. And why am I mentioning this? Because when you look at most of the diagnoses that are given to people, 9 times out of 10, it's because of one of 3 things. Either a person is exhibiting behavior that is outside of his baseline, probably because of some kind of chemical imbalance or some type of demonic possession or some type of trauma or pain related situation that caused him to act out of his norm or his baseline. And when you look at the stuff that's happening around the world today, whether you call it racism, whether you call it oppression, whether you call it fascism, at the core of the investigation is some type of malady. It's some type of disease. There's some type of trauma. There's some type of pain. Case on point. The first fratricide that was committed by Cain when he slew his brother Abel, right? At the core of the investigation, there was a disease. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the sacrifice of Abel and rejected the sacrifice of Cain, and he became enraged to the point where he killed his own brother.